The frontal lobes are critical for functions that are uniquely human, such as language and theory of mind. Theory of mind is our ability to think about what other people are thinking. When you missed your deadline, when you were thinking about your supervisor notes, you missed your deadline because you went out last night rather than stayed in to finish your assignment. You are engaging in theory of mind. Theory of mind includes contemplating what other people know, assessing other people's motivations and feelings, and considering what others expect from you. Theory of mind is just one process that requires frontal lobe function. The frontal lobes are involved in many other high-level mental processes, including executive functions. Executive functions are those that enable us to identify future goals and recognize the actions that will move us toward achieving those goals. The ability to predict which behaviors will lead us to which outcomes. Going out tonight will cause me to miss my deadline. Differentiate desired outcomes from unwanted outcomes. Submitting the project on time is good, getting fired is bad, and promote actions that lead to sought-after results. Stay home tonight to work on assignment are all functions that require adequate working and frontal regions. It is often the case that conflicting inputs will be transmitted, and the frontal lobes are required to differentiate between these conflicting desires, making sure the inhibit actions are anticipated to lead to desired results or socially unacceptable outcomes. We are confronted with conflicting needs and information all the time. After a long day at work, we may want to go home and immerse ourselves in junk TV and eat a bowl of salt and vinegar potato chips. At the same time, an inner voice tells us we should go to the gym. Finding a solution to this conflict involves recognizing the future consequences resulting from the different actions and directing thoughts and actions in accordance with these internal goals. A well-functioning frontal lobe will inhibit the action that is associated with the less desirable goal and promote the action that is associated with a more desirable one. In Bengtson's study, after being primed with the word clever, participants expected to do well. However, when being provided an incorrect answer, the outcome was at odds with their expectation. The result, an error, conflicted with the anticipated outcome, doing well, and generated a mismatched signal in the frontal cortex. When the brain doesn't get what it expects, it frantically tries to figure out what went awry. The signal is the frontal cortex may have been modulating attention, signaling, take notice, something here is wrong. The importance of this signal is that it can facilitate learning, as learning from errors is critical for directing our behavior towards optimal functioning. Enhanced attention to errors would lead to better performance on the next trial. However, when the participants were primed with the word stupid, there was no heightened activity in the frontal cortex following an incorrect answer. The participants expected to do poorly, and thus they did not show signs of surprise or conflict. Lacking a take notice, wrong answer signal in the brain, the participants failed to learn from their mistakes and were less likely to improve over time. They accepted their errors because the errors were expected, and they did not try to regulate their behavior to achieve better performance. In general, our frontal lobes meditate planning and action to achieve the goals we have identified for ourselves. These may be short-term goals, such as completing the Times crossword puzzle or making gourmet dinner for friends. They may be medium-term goals, such as running a marathon in 4 hours or learning to play the guitar. They may also be long-term goals, such as being successful at a job, being a good parent, or being happy. Our progress towards the ideals is monitored by matching what we do with what we expect. When we stray from the path we have set for ourselves, when behavior does not quite align with expectations, thoughts and actions are quickly generated to get us back on track. If we expect to get a promotion at work, but we find ourselves stuck in the same position for years with no change in sight, we may pause to mull over exactly what went wrong. We may then reassess our behavior, identifying new actions that can lead to our wished outcome. Maybe we will be motivated to put in extra hours or ask for some responsibility. Eventually, these actions can lead into the sought-after promotion we anticipated for ourselves. However, if we do not expect to get promoted, we will continue with our normal routine. We will not be surprised by the lack of promotion and will not notice that we are not getting ahead. The brain will receive what is anticipated, and no error-related signal will be generated in the frontal cortex to modulate behavior. We will not attempt to change, nor will we achieve it. You may say, well, positive expectations may lead to better outcomes, but what happens when they don't? Surely we can't always get what we want. And with all due respect to Mick Jagger, we can't always get what we need. We don't always get what we need. What then? Will great expectations just lead to disappointment? Is it not better to hold lower expectations, thereby protecting ourselves from frustration? The notion that holding low expectations will protect us from disappointment is known as defensive pessimism. Low expectations, however, do not diminish the pain of failure. Not only do negative expectations lead to worse results, they also fail to protect us from negative emotions when unwanted outcomes occur. For example, students who had low expectations of their performance on an undergraduate psychology exam felt just as bad when those expectations came true as students who expected to do well. In fact, negative expectations can literally kill us. Take Peter and James. Peter is a 45-year-old investment banker, and James is a 42-year-old corporate lawyer. On a bright Sunday morning, they both found themselves in the ER following a heart attack. The severity of each man's condition is assessed similarly at first, and then they are given the same prognosis. Peter usually sees the glass half full, and James sees it as half empty. The reaction of each man regarding his illness is consistent with his general view of life. Peter believes he is strong, and with a bit of effort he will recover, getting back to his daily life routine in no time. James, on the other hand, is convinced his time has come. At the very best, he believes he will live for a couple more years, and even those will not be the quality he has been accustomed to. At the time, there is no evidence to support either prediction. There is no objective reason to think Peter will enjoy a swift recovery and that James's life will end in a quick journey to the morgue. However, their predictions are likely to influence the outcomes of their conditions by altering their behavior and thus be self-fulfilling. Peter is more likely to take actions that will result in his expected recovery, avoiding fatty foods and salt, avoiding stress-inducing situations, and engaging in moderate exercise. James, expecting his life to be over soon, will be less motivated to do so. He will become more likely to relapse, thus potentially making good on his own prediction of an early death. In effect, people who react to illness with passive acceptance of their own impending death, such as James, die prematurely. Although James and Peter are the creations of my imagination, they could have easily been two participants in a study conducted in 1996. This study examined a group of patients who had experienced heart attacks and were following a rehabilitation program. The researchers found that just like Peter, optimists experienced were more likely to reduce their body fat levels, therefore reducing their overall risk. They were also more likely to take vitamins and eat low-fat diets. The result? Optimists live longer. Pessimists, on the other hand, die younger. A study tracking 1,000 healthy people over 50 years found pessimists were more likely to encounter an early death than optimists. What kills these poor naysayers? Apparently, pessimists are more likely to perish prematurely as a result of accidental and violent events. Car crashes, drowning, work accidents, and homicide were more often in their cards. Why would a bleak outlook result in such tragic deaths? It seems like the pessimist outlook promoted risk-taking because the pessimists believed they did not have much to lose. Optimists envision a glorious future that are reluctant to disappear into oblivion. The secret to the positive relationship between optimism and health is that optimists are select risk takers. They take risk and the potential health problem is trivial and or unlikely to affect them. They will not avoid talking on cell phones for fear of brain tumor, as their relationship being the two are not well established. On the other hand, they are less likely to smoke, as smoking is a well-documented cause of lung cancer. In other words, optimists have their mental and physical resources for significant threats. For definition, optimists are the people who hold prospective expectations of the future. They expect to do well in life, have good relationships, and be productive, healthy, and happy. Because optimists expect to do better and be healthier, they have fewer subjective reasons to worry and despair. The result? They are less anxious and adjust better to stress factors such as abortion or childbirth, cancer or AIDS, and even medical or law school. As a consequence, they earn even more money. A person's level of optimism in the first year of law school predicted in his income in a later decade. An increase in one tiny point in the optimism scale is worth at least $33,000 a year. Hope, whether internally generated or coming out from an outside source, enables people to embrace their goals and stay committed to moving forward. This goal will eventually make the goal likely to become a reality. It won the Lakers their repeat victory, Clever Hans his unique abilities, and Peter a long life following cardiac arrest. When our hopeful predictions turn out to be wrong, well, then, like the Brinson's participants, simply learn from our errors and try again. As the old saying goes, all's well that ends well. If not yet well, then it's not quite the end. End of chapter 3.